What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Prey, a Predator movie prequel that we've never seen before. And it's good. Let's get into it. So I just got done watching Prey for the first time. I had heard a lot of talk about how it's rivaling the first movie, and some people are saying they liked it better than the first movie. I mean, those are some pretty big words to talk about the very first Predator movie, because that is considered to be a classic. And I gotta say that I don't think they're far off. I think it's pretty equal almost. But before I gush about this movie, because I'm gonna gush, and I want to let you know that I'm gonna do a spoiler thing at the very, very, very end. And I'll let you know fully that I am getting to that spoiler section way ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about it at the very end. But everything from here is spoiler free until I say otherwise. So, Prey is about a Comanche Nation about 300 years into the past, where a girl named Naru, who is a skilled female warrior who is fighting to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators that ever land on Earth, which in my opinion is an amazing idea, and it is very well rooted in the lore of the franchise. In fact, if you remember back in part 2, they connect the old world to this movie, and I think that's where this movie stemmed from. But more on that later. This is written and directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who has done work on 10 Cloverfield Lane, The Boys. He's even working on the upcoming Waterworld TV series. We got writers Patrick Asen, who did the Jack Ryan TV show Kingdom and Wayward Pines. And together, I think these two did a really phenomenal job of writing a story. We have stars Amber Midthunder and Dakota Beavers, both of which have Native ancestry and are of indigenous people, which is great because a lot of this movie is made with indigenous people. They did do 2 versions of the movie that you can watch, both the same movie, but one with Comanche dub, where you can actually watch the movie with Comanche dubs and maybe subtitles if you want to do that if you don't know Comanche, but you can watch it in Comanche or you can watch it in regular English. The only thing that would have made this movie better is if they actually spoke Comanche the entire movie and we had to read subtitles. That is the only thing I could say that I wish that they would have done, but still enjoyed the movie quite fine. What did I think about this movie? Well, I mean, obviously I'm kind of gushing. The movie starts to kind of play off about this girl and her, kind of trying to be a warrior in a time where she's supposed to be the fruit gatherer, or the food gatherer, or the food maker, or the female. And of course, they play on that a little bit as she kind of breaks free from that sort of tradition and goes to be a warrior. And her brother and her sort of have this back and forth with each other, which personally, I think both of these actors did a phenomenal job. I think they were both very likable, and I enjoyed their performances. This movie is brutal, too. Man, this is easily one of the more brutal fucking, Predators. I mean, all Predator movies have been pretty fucking brutal. So this one is no different, and you will expect to see a lot of gore and things in that, which, there's a couple of scenes that are just really fucking amazing, guys, that I absolutely loved. They do a really good job of showing the first Predator in an older state than it is, currently, in the more modern times. So it's got some adjustments to some of its gear and things, which really makes it kind of a unique thing. They kind of make it look a little bit more like an older school version of these aliens, which is pretty great. They have a lot of nods, of course, to a lot of the movies. There is definitely some nods to the first and second one, I can confirm. I didn't pick up any other ones, but maybe I will on a second watch. One in particular that I have to talk about in the spoiler section at the end of this that I was just ecstatic about. In fact, I was pretty ecstatic about this movie. I wasn't sure until about halfway through. And then halfway through, I was like, yes, let's go. Let's have a fucking good time. And this movie did not hold back. It showed a really good time. A lot of characters and even her dog. Like, they really just do a good job of kind of melding all this together. There are some other people that, add adversity to the whole situation, which really make it kind of interesting. And the scenery and the shots and everything look really well. Dan Trachtenberg is doing a really good job here. And the way that it ends, I personally think is pretty damn good. By the end of the movie, I was almost so elated about the story and the characters and how much I liked them that I was just like almost in tears, so happy about how they treated this franchise. This is without a doubt one of the best Predator movies that we have seen since the first one. And I am a fan of the second one. But I have to admit that one's a little cheesy. But this takes you back to the forest, which is such a great, ripe environment for hunting. And they do some sort of segments in the movie where they show various different types of predators, which is fantastic. There's a lot of nods to that kind of thing. A lot of really great cinematography that's going on here that I really enjoyed. The music all works with it. It does feel like a Predator film, obviously, but there's a little more seriousness to this. Also, like some of the characters do talk to each other in a very kind of, it feels a little more modern than you might expect, but I can set that small, tiny gripe aside for the overwhelming wealth of great things that are in this movie that make it a really fun time for me. Now, I understand that there are some people out there that are just like, they think it's a travesty. I mean, have you no joy in your life? Like, I'm sorry, but this is not a 1 out of 10 movie. Yeah, it's a mainstream movie, so maybe it's not the deepest artistic movie I've ever seen. But for anybody who knows a Predator movie and just the entertainment of Predator or even Aliens or Predator versus Aliens, what were you expecting? Like, I feel like people are just getting upset for no reason anymore about movies. And this is a really good movie. This should be held up, and it's one of the best movies this year, in my opinion. In fact, I'm sitting on like an 8.5, a 9, maybe a 9.5. I mean, as far as Predator movies go, like this is definitely in the top 2 for me and maybe top 3, but it's definitely in that bracket of the top 3 best Predator movies, including all the crossover ones. I think you'll enjoy it if you're a Predator fan. If you're not a Predator fan, there is a lot to enjoy here. A lot of fan service is put into this movie because they do some like serious like Easter egg stuff in here. If you're a fan of the movies and you've seen them before, there's one thing in particular that they mess with you at the very end for like the last 30 minutes of the movie, and you're like, what's gonna happen? I really enjoyed it, guys. If this is your spoiler-free section and you just came for that, awesome. I really want to talk to you guys a little bit about the spoiler section. So if you want to see the movie, it's up on Hulu for you to be able to watch right now as part of the service. I'm sure there's a trial out there if you want to do that. We're going to get into the spoiler section now, and I'm going to give you fair warning so you don't hear anything. But if you don't want anything spoiled, here is your warning.
Here is your warning. Here is your warning.
Okay, so we're in the spoiler section. This means that if you have not seen the movie, go see the fucking movie. Don't listen to this part. You don't want to know about it. It's going to ruin the movie for you. Please listen to me. Watch it on Hulu first, okay? Just want to be clear. One of the first things that I noticed, obviously, was at one point in time, they have Naru who gets covered in mud. And I'm thinking, oh, they're going to use that in this movie. And they're going to do it kind of like the first Predator, which would have been like the obvious choice, right? No. They do something completely different. They pay homage to it by covering her in mud, but immediately she cleans it off. So I'm glad they chose to do something different. And they use this substance from a flower that she gathers, like orange something, I can't remember what it's called, but it causes your body to go cold, like some sort of pain drug that you would take, but it cools off your body, and they use that in the movie here, which I thought was a kind of a nice touch. It wasn't my favorite thing about the movie, but it was a nice touch to change it up from something like mud. Another thing that they pointed out in the movie, which I thought was pretty cool, was her brother, Tabe, was saying that if it bleeds, we can kill it. And obviously, that's a nod to the first movie, obviously connecting the two there.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
But the biggest thing that I want to talk about that I absolutely fucking loved, that had me going bonkers about this movie, is the Danny Glover nod from the second movie. If you recall, at the very end, Danny Glover boards the ship and kills one of the predators. And then all of the predators come out in that little room. And he's like, so who's next? You know, it's like this big tough guy moment. And then they all surround him and walk away and take the predator body away after he kills it. And then one of them hands him a gun. And that gun says Raphael Adolini 1715. And in this movie, the guy who translates for her from the French Canadian packers or trackers or whatever, the hunters, he hands her a gun when he gets his leg chopped off, that she gives him the, you know, the miracle cure and make him go cold and also get away from the pain, but he gets killed anyway. And I was like, immediately, as soon as he handed her that gun, before we even saw the fucking inscription on the fucking thing, which they waited to the very end to do, I was like, that's gotta be the gun from fucking part 2. The whole time I'm like, okay, this is gonna be the thing that kills it, right? You know? So in some ways, they're toying with the fans, because the first time she goes to use it, she uses it and it misfires. It doesn't even go off. Obviously, she's not gonna kill it there. And then she has another instance where she goes up against it again. She pulls the trigger behind it and it shoots the back of its head, but doesn't kill it. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? When is this gun gonna kill it? It has to be the final weapon, right? But it isn't, because they toy with you at the whole end of the movie, which I loved. She kills it by, you know, using the creature's helmet that she snags after she shot it in the back of the head. And they use the dart to come, because she figured out that the lasers, where it goes, bang, you're dead.
Wherever the red dot goes, you bang.
At the end, she goes back to the camp after her brother and everybody's gone. She throws the predator's head down on the ground with all of the blood all over her, and she throws the handgun to the chief, and he looks at it just like they did in the sequel, in the first sequel, Predator 2, with Danny Glover, and looked at it, and sure enough, that's the gun. Now, I was expecting somehow they were going to get that gun from those people, but maybe there's a sequel where they have to fight it again, and I don't know. Maybe they left that part open for that reason, but that part just alone just made me an ultra fan right there. Tell me if you guys noticed that in the first one. If you didn't, fine. If you're a fan, you should know it. That's a famous scene, because I kept thinking in my mind, like, oh man, they've been around forever, you know, like they've been going back in time and shit, and like fighting humans forever. I always thought that was the most amazing thing in Predator 2, is that this isn't just some one occurrence or a second occurrence, that they've been frequenting this planet. I thought it was really cool. I loved this movie. I'm seriously I'm frothing at the mouth to talk about it. So I had to include this little spoiler section. Let me know if you noticed anything else. I would love to hear that in the comment section. Just make sure you put spoilers ... all the way down so that nobody can see it, and then we can put it in there. But don't spoil it for anybody if they haven't seen it. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Let me know what your thoughts about this movie are. If you enjoyed this video and the little extra spoiler section at the end, hit the like and subscribe button and the notification icon, just so you know when I have a new video coming up, because I got a lot more and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this stuff. So thanks for coming by, and as always, long live the void.